the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them.
Boom. President Trump just sent a 245% economic missile straight at Beijing, and Xi Jinping blinked. Hey, in a jaw-dropping move just last night, President Donald Trump raised tariffs on Chinese imports to an unheard of 245%. And less than 12 hours later, the Chinese Communist Party is already backpedaling, begging for talks and pleading for respect. Now, folks, this is not just about trade anymore. This is war without bullets. Basically, what you're looking at here is you've got China. They try to play hardball, grounding Boeing deals, cutting off rare earth minerals crucial to our defense systems, and even threatening the U.S. with all-out conflict. But President Trump, he called their bluff, and now Beijing is folding like a cheap tent, guys. And here's the wild part. It's not just China that's reeling. Wait until you see what happens to the U.S. inflation only days after President Trump's Liberation Day. Also, how about the Democrats' narrative of President Trump's voter regret, which just got obliterated by CNN's own data? And stick around, guys, because the very same Leticia James, who swore she's going to be taking down Trump, she's now facing criminal fraud charges herself. Comment down below if you think Leticia James should be put behind bars. Also, if you appreciate the daily news updates, just do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just one of the most satisfying reversals of fortune in modern political history. Guys, all of this it literally unfolded in like less than 48 hours. It's just crazy.
We're going to bring in Courtney Brown, economics reporter for Axios, and Jonathan Hillman, a senior fellow for geoeconomics at the Council on Foreign Relations. Jonathan, I want to start with you. We just heard Steve talk about the ripple effects this is having on everybody, from the guy who's running the port to the lady who runs the coffee shop. We're now hearing the president float the idea of putting new tariffs potentially on things like computer chips and pharmaceutical drugs. What is that going to mean for consumers?
So we saw over the weekend a little bit of relief and some exclusions for some very high tariffs that were placed on Chinese products, especially for smartphones and a range of other electronics. I think that was done because the pain would have been quite severe if those were left on. However, though, U.S. officials have assured us that, don't worry, there are more tariffs coming. And so they've announced just yesterday that they'll be beginning a national security investigation into semiconductors as well as pharmaceuticals. So the timetable on that is a little bit uncertain, but we can expect tariffs to come in both areas.
China is seeking support from other countries to unite against President Trump over his crushing tariff plan. But Beijing met with wariness after years of, quote, coercive economic behavior. That's according to the New York Times. This is the Trump administration says it's negotiating with more than 70 countries as they push for them to limit dealings with China in exchange for tariff reductions. China reportedly open to talks with the U.S., but with many reported stipulations, including the U.S., quote, showing respect and naming a point person to lead negotiations. Let's bring in Gatestone Institute senior fellow and author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, Gordon.
Anyway, buckle up, guys. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into all of this stuff. China's surrender, the shocking new housing data, the backfiring Democrat scandal, and of course, President Trump's rising economic power that no one can ignore anymore. So, all right, let's be clear, guys. This wasn't just a policy move. In fact, this was nothing short of a shockwave, a calculated, no holds barred economic declaration of dominance, basically. On Tuesday night, President Trump officially dropped the hammer, raising tariffs on Chinese imports to a historic 245%, not 25%, not even 100%, 245%, the most aggressive tariff escalation in modern history. Now, of course, today is Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. And so guess what? Within hours, the response from Beijing, it was loud. It was panicked. It was desperate. President Xi Jinping, the same man whose government just last week was talking about war until the end, right? suddenly flipped the script. He went from talking tough to tapping out. Now at this point, he's demanding a formal negotiation channel, asking the Trump administration to appoint a lead negotiator, even begging the U.S. to essentially show more respect. Translation, they don't want to fight anymore. They want to beg. Well, why the sudden cave? Well, let's rewind just a little bit here because China didn't exactly start this week on their knees. No, China came out swinging. Remember? They grounded every Boeing order, cutting off the American aerospace giant from billions of dollars in aircraft contracts. That's right, guys. They told all Chinese airlines to halt orders of all U.S.-made planes and parts. And of course, in a move that barely even got reported by the media, they unleashed their real weapon. China halted exports of 6 critical rare earth minerals. These are materials that the U.S. literally depends on to build missiles, semiconductors, fighter jets, cars, drones, even satellites. So you see why President Trump doesn't want America to be so vulnerable to our adversary? These minerals are not just strategic, they're unreplaceable, and China controls over 85% of the global supply. Then came their big warning shot. The Chinese embassy sent out an ominous message. If war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other kind, we are ready to fight until the end. That was the line, guys. That was their flex. And for a moment, they thought that they had leverage. But Trump doesn't bluff. He doesn't flinch. He retaliated the same night with 245% tariffs and a very clear message. America isn't here to be bullied. We're done playing by China's rules. And just like that, Beijing blinked. Xi Jinping walked back the threats. He sent a message of cooperation. He said he asked Trump to appoint a representative and control the tone of his cabinet. Imagine that. The communist regime now wants respect from the man that they basically said that they would fight to the end to? Really?
Tell us more about this.
Yeah, well, they reported 5.4% growth from Q1, but that is ludicrous because we're seeing the price data for March showed China's in a deflationary spiral. CPI down 2 straight months, PPI, factory gate prices, down 30 straight months. That is inconsistent with the notion of a robust economy. Plus, also, they got their debt crisis. Their 2008 in slow motion is occurring now. You got the collapse in the property prices that have already occurred. And the other thing is that Xi Jinping has turned his back on consumption as the basis of the Chinese economy. So his only way out is to export more. President Trump has just closed off the world's biggest consumer market by far. I mean, I don't know what Xi Jinping's going to do because Chinese factories have been closing now, and this is just a crisis for him. Well,
give me the investor perspective on that, Mark, of what he's saying.
All right, so I'm going to get very specific here. So we looked at NVIDIA and AMD yesterday, down 7-ish%. Obviously, the administration barred sale of some of the AI chips that they make to China. What I'm reading now is that Jensen Huang, NVIDIA's CEO, just arrived in Beijing, not wearing his typical motorcycle black leather jacket, but instead wearing a suit and tie. Remember, China mentioned that they want respect when it comes to trade. Is there anything we should be reading into that kind of a meeting?
Well, of course, NVIDIA wants to sell more chips to China, and it's allowed a lot of its chips to be sold through China through transshipment through Singapore and other places, which it knew what was going on. Shame on them. But the point here is that once the U.S. starts really restricting chip flows to China, China's AI dreams have really run into a lot of turbulence then. And because everyone says that the struggle for the 21st century is AI, China's in trouble there as well.
The New York Times has an op-ed this morning. It's not hard to imagine a Chinese-led global economy. But what you're saying, and Mark's point, flies in the face of what the New York Times is writing.
Yeah, and it flies in the face of the New York Times reporting. It's just common sense that, we have problems with China on trade because of their predatory and criminal trade practices. Well, of course, other countries also have those same problems, even worse than we do. So, China's not going to be able to stitch up this global coalition that everyone's talking about against the U.S. to reorder the trade order. It's not going to happen. If anybody is going to reorder global trade, it's President Trump with all of these deals that he is now stitching together. And that's going to isolate China because remember, Trump said those countries that deal with us first get the best deals. China is at the end of the tail because they are intransigent.
And Japan.
Guys, this isn't just diplomacy. This is a masterclass in leverage. It's the art of the deal on full display. And we're just getting started here. What we really need to be talking about, and you won't believe how the U.S. economy responded after President Trump hit that 245% tariff button. Grocery prices down, gas prices down, mortgage rates down. And wait until you see the housing reset that just flipped the script on inflation, guys. So what happened after Trump slammed China with that 245% tariff and sent their communist leadership begging for negotiations? Did the markets crash? Did inflation explode like the media warned? Not even close. Ever since President Trump's Liberation Day, April 5th, what was that, about 10 days ago? April 5th, the day he launched his full-scale tariff offensive, key prices across America have been falling. That's right, guys. While the media screamed economic disaster, something remarkable started to happen. Grocery prices down, gas prices down, energy prices down, mortgage rates also down. And the real estate market, well, you're going to love this. So the housing market has just started to reset for the very first time in years. Get this, guys. Over 500,000 new homes have hit the market. This is a number we haven't seen since 2007. Now, let me ask you just real quick. If you're a renter, just type in rent. If you're a homeowner, type in homeowner. I want to see how my audience is split up in the comments here. In key states like Florida, would you ever live in Florida? I know some of you guys do live in Florida. I know some people love Florida. Some people say it's too expensive. Hey, key states like Florida, home prices are plummeting, bringing long overdue relief to buyers that were shut out for years. This is what Trump calls a transition to American greatness. The globalists said that the tariffs would destroy us, but instead, they unlocked the supply chains. They forced fairer trade and triggered a new economic recalibration. And guys, we're only 11 days in. Remember, today's April 16th. Trump's Liberation Day was April 5th. And so now, if the economy is stabilizing, if energy and food prices are easing, and if inflation is cooling, that begs the question, how are the American people feeling about Trump now? Well, the media has been relentless in trying to push the story that Trump voters regret their voting decision. They say voters miss Joe Biden's stability, that they've grown tired of Trump's chaos. What do you say to that? But that fantasy just got obliterated by none other than CNN. Well, yes, even CNN had to face the music. None other than their own data analyst, Harry Enton, he just admitted on air that they regret that regret among Trump voters is almost non-existent. So let's go ahead and break it down, okay? Only 2% of Trump voters say that they would change their vote if they could. 2%. This is the same number as Kamala Harris voters. Even better than that, that number is like half of what it was back in 2017 after Trump's first win. In 2017, it was 4%. Today, it's just 2%. That's right, guys. After 4 years of media brainwashing, legal witch hunts, and nonstop anti-Trump propaganda, his base is stronger than ever now. Harry Enton from CNN, he even said it himself. He said, quote, The whole idea that Trump voters are regretting their vote is a fanciful universe, end quote. Now, let's just be honest here, guys. If the regret number is lower now than after Trump's first presidency, that means all the political lawfare, the indictments, the smear campaign, it's only made his base more loyal to him, more determined and more energized. And we haven't even gotten to the whole MS-13 deportation scandal. No, or how about the criminal referral Leticia James just got smacked with, right? But first, guys, if you're tired of sitting on the sidelines while the economy shifts on you, if you know deep down inside that you just can't keep living like this, stressed out about money, fearing about what happens next, whether it's your job, the market, you need to come and check out my course, Stop Living Paycheck to Paycheck Now. Guys, I will walk you through step by step how to build financial strength in any economy, even one that's rigged by elites and foreign powers. So if you're done feeling all alone in this fight, join us. I'll leave a link for you in the description down below. You can also join us in the Liberty Pursuit Network as well, because the next decade will be a battle. And you're going to need a community that fights back. So if you're ready for more, definitely hit us up in the links in the description down below. Next, guys, we need to talk about the Democratic senator who flew to El Salvador to protect an MS-13 gang member, and how that fired or essentially backfired pretty hard to the point of being really embarrassing. It's horrible. Now, just when you thought that the week couldn't get any crazier, I want to take you guys to one of the most bizarre and outrageous headlines that we've seen in a long time. And you're probably not even going to believe this. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen literally flew to El Salvador on your taxpayer dime, mind you, to try and bring back an illegal immigrant and suspected MS-13 gang member to the United States. You heard that right, guys. Not to protect a veteran, not to bring home a falsely imprisoned American, not to bring home American hostages, but to fight for the release of Abrigo Garcia, an alleged MS-13 member, a man who was in the United States illegally, already deported, accused of some violent gang activity, and reportedly a known national security threat. Why on earth would a sitting U.S. senator go out of his or her way to do this? To score political points? To virtue signal for open borders? Or has the Democratic Party just fully and truly lost all touch with reality at this point? Well, whatever the reason happens to be, the whole thing just backfired in humiliating fashion. El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, responded with a thunderclap. No, I will not help you smuggle a terror suspect into the United States. What? Game over, guys. Van Hollen, he came home empty-handed and rightfully embarrassed. And folks in Maryland, his own constituents, they're furious. They're mad at this guy. While their city is facing all sorts of crime, inflation, and homelessness, this senator of theirs was off playing lawyer for MS-13. Like, you seriously can't make this stuff up, guys. But if you thought that was like some kind of a, I don't know, poetic justice, wait until you hear what happened to one of the most Trump-hating, lawsuit-happy Democrats in American history. Who do you think I'm talking about? By the way, if you're just now joining live, hit the like button. Definitely subscribe to the channel. And let me know. Just drop a quick yes in the comments here to hear me. Comment down below, who do you think I'm talking about right now? That's right, guys. New York Attorney General Leticia James, the same woman who campaigned on suing Trump every day. We all remember her campaign spiel, right? The one who pushed this bizarre legal theory to charge Trump with fraud over real estate appraisals. She has now been hit with a federal criminal referral for mortgage fraud. Isn't that ironic? Let's talk facts here, okay? So, according to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, James allegedly falsified documents to receive better loan terms. Huh. You don't say. claimed a Virginia home as her primary residence to qualify for a favorable rate. And even listed her father as her husband on paperwork to file jointly. The irony is absolutely savage, guys. This is the same AG who weaponized the law to accuse Trump of inflating real estate values, even though the numbers came from professional appraisers. Now she's the one facing prosecution under Federal Code Section 1014, the same section used to charge people for making false claims to banks. Oh my goodness. Does this woman need to be put in jail or what, right? Fox News, they're reporting the referral has been sent to Attorney General Pam Bondi, who may very well be preparing charges. Now, as you guys understand, Trump appointed Pam Bondi, or essentially nominated Pam Bondi. She got voted in. But get this, guys. If the same legal standard that James used against Trump is applied to her, this is open and shut fraud. That's crazy. This is wild. Talk about an about face, right? And think back to what Leticia James used to say, right? Trump is a danger to democracy. Trump is a danger to democracy is what she used to say. She said, I wake up every day excited to sue him. She said he got rich off the backs of others. And now she might be prosecuted by Trump's own DOJ. That's poetic justice, is it not? But let's go ahead and bring it all home, right? Because if you thought Leticia James' criminal referral was ironic, wait until you see the twisted hypocrisy of the media, the legal system, and the entire anti-Trump political machine that she propped up for years. So let's not forget who Leticia James is. She didn't quietly go after Trump. She bragged about it. She campaigned on it. She literally stood on stage in New York and declared, hey, what is fueling my soul right now is Trump. She also said, I look forward to going into the office every day, suing him, and then going home. And she also said, we're going to be a real pain in the ass. Wow. How is this legal? How is this okay? Like, she didn't run for attorney general to uphold justice. She ran to be a political assassin for the 45th president of the United States. The media celebrated her. They called her brave. They called her a woman of justice. But here we are today, April 16th, 2025. And now she's the one that's facing felony level charges. Wow. What a turn of events here, guys, right? What a turn of events. And not just some minor technicality stuff, guys. This is mortgage fraud, potentially bank fraud and violations of federal lending laws. I mean, all while she allegedly falsified her primary residence, allegedly claimed family members as spouses, allegedly and potentially lied to federal loan agencies for personal gain. So let me ask you something. Where's the CNN panel on this news? Where's the MSNBC meltdown? Nowhere in sight, are they? Because just like with the Russia hoax, the Hunter Biden laptop, the fake Trump indictments, the media only talks when it fits their narrative. And unfortunately, this video is probably not going to get very many views because I'm shedding the light. Now, if you guys appreciate me shedding the light, please, share this video, hit the like button and subscribe. But this is not the first time. But I think we're seeing some change. Not anymore, because the facts are just too loud and the American people are not blind. The American people are not stupid. They think we are, but we're not. So let's take a moment and reflect on this, shall we? So this is the same woman who charged Donald Trump using novel legal theories that legal experts said had never been used before in criminal proceedings. Even Kevin O'Leary said this multiple times. She couldn't find a legitimate crime, so she invented new ones. But now she's under the microscope. Leticia James is under investigation for doing exactly what she accused Trump of, except it sounds like it was worse. Because unlike Trump, she's alleged to have knowingly lied. lied on federal forms, lied to get special treatment, allegedly, lied to obtain better loan terms. And guess who's investigating her now? The very justice system that she once weaponized. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just karma. This is a full circle takedown on the phony moral high ground that Leticia James and her allies built their careers on. So here is the big takeaway from all of this. While President Trump is negotiating peace through strength and forcing China to the table, while the economy improves, while inflation drops, while his base stands firm, the very people who try to destroy him are now crumbling under the weight of their own corruption. And if that doesn't motivate you to take charge of your own future, I don't know what will. Well, don't wait for the next shockwave, guys. Jump inside my course. Stop living paycheck to paycheck now. Because in a system that's this rigged, the only freedom you can count on is the freedom that you build for yourself. Now, I'll leave a link for you in the description down below. Free yourself. And if you're done standing alone, if you're done watching the elites protect their own, you can also join us over in the Liberty Pursuit Network. This is not just a group, it's a movement. It's a movement of patriots who are prepared, principled, and pushing back. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up this episode, from Trump's crushing 245% tariff takedown of China, to the collapse of the media's voter regret fantasy, to the utter implosion of the Democratic legal hit squad. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing the beginning of a massive power shift in this country. So don't just watch it happen. Be a part of it. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments. Should Leticia James be prosecuted to the full extent of the law? Do you support President Trump's tariff move against China? And are you finally done believing the media's lies? Well, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you guys on the next one. Stay sharp, stay free.
Bye.